Always bothered me that miracles seem so prevalent in the Bible. Why aren't they today? Put the scriptures up there, Dan, if you have them. I'm going to give you all the scriptures right off the bat. Well, anyway, this one is John 5:2. But Jesus healed the man that had been there for years and years, and he was paralyzed, and nobody would put him in the water. Somebody'd always beat him. Well, it says in my I'm going to read mine. Dan said he didn't have my translation, so that's okay. Oh, it is there? Oh, okay. About halfway through. Hundreds of sick people, blind, crippled, paralyzed, were in these alcoves. Hundreds. And Jesus healed one. Now, that's not to say that some of those hundreds didn't get healed later. I don't know, but it doesn't say that. Okay, let's go to the next one. Well, it's Philippians 2:27, and anyway, especially since recovering from the illness you heard about, he's been wanting to get back and reassure you that he is just fine. He nearly died. Paul left this guy somewhere because obviously Paul prayed that he'd be healed, but he wasn't. Paul just left. And well, I pulled my little thing out here. So Timothy, 2 Timothy 4:20. Say hello to Priscilla and Aquila, also the family of Onesiphorus. Erastus stayed behind in Corinth. I had to leave Trophimus sick in Miletus. So everybody didn't get healed. It was my opinion that everybody did, but everybody did not. That's my dilemma. I want to encourage people. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings that, oh, this guy got healed, I didn't. My brother didn't. My child didn't. My parents. I don't have an answer for that. I do not have an answer. But I do have a story. And I know a lot of, maybe you're not going to like my story because a lot of people think it's faith, faith, faith. Well, yes, but it isn't always. I do believe that we need the faith that Jesus can heal us, has the ability to heal us, but it doesn't take much looking around to know that he doesn't always heal us. And I don't believe, I used to say, surely someone, okay, I can understand I don't have the faith, but surely someone around does. But I've only come up with my ability to tell you this story, and you will not be one bit impressed with my faith. But I hope you'll be very impressed with God. So I was in the Army in Vietnam, and I got hurt. And I'll throw a few things in that don't have anything to do with healing, but we always had a battle with the paramedics in the helicopters because the Geneva Convention said you can't have any ammunition, no guns, no hand grenades, anything on a Red Cross. Anything has a Red Cross on it. But we'd get a couple of guys hurt, and then they'd go back in the helicopter, and we're carrying all their gear. So we'd figure out ways to get it on the helicopter. So we got hurt about 2:30 in the morning, and by getting close to daylight, my captain came over and he said, "Here's the plan." He said, "Once we hear the helicopter coming, we're going to all take off, and you're going to be here, and you throw a smoke grenade, and they'll come pick you up, and then they're going to have to take all this stuff." There was a guy that got hurt the night before, and we had his rifle and ammunition and all that stuff, and so they said they're going to have to take yours and his because we're going to be gone. And this was not a heavy combat area. I wasn't at all scared when he said they were going to do it. Once they left, I got a little scared. But they came in, and I thought they were going to land right beside me. But they landed on the other side of this rice paddy. And they just sat there and looked at me. And so I had to pick up this other guy's, all his gear and my gear, and walk across this rice paddy. And they never even helped me get in the helicopter. But then we flew back to the hospital. It was just a big tent. And they wouldn't even let me they came and did everything for me. And that was a little annoying. They took scissors and started cutting down cut my clothes. I said, "You just made me walk across a rice paddy with all this stuff. I can take my clothes off." So they cut it all off, put an American nurse under each arm. They've cut everything off of me except my muddy boots. I looked down. It was more embarrassing to have the boots on than nothing. But anyway, we got in there, and they operated on me. And when I woke up, I had a colostomy, not a colonoscopy, a colostomy, a bag. And that was interesting. But I learned to hate the show MASH because it was a bunch of clowns acting like everything was funny. And I was in a hospital with people that were working their tails off to save people. And so when later on, MASH came out, and I hated it. But so anyway, a couple months later, they sent me back to a hospital in the States. And a couple months later, they were going to put me back together. And you may hear more than you wanted to hear coming up. This big German nurse took me in the bathroom and gave me castor oil, which I had never had. I don't think I'd ever had a laxative. But I'm telling you, castor oil works quite well. And the World Series was on, and she said, "You stay here until that thing's done working." So I didn't know. I'd never had castor oil. I didn't know what it was going to do. So I went. It worked, and I put a new bag on it and got all tidied up, and because they wanted me all flushed out because they're going to sew me back up. And so I was out there. There were 7 beds along this wall facing that way, and 7 along that wall facing this way, and the World Series was going on TV down there, and I was just sitting there in the bed, and all of a sudden, got this, holy smokes, I was cramped up so badly, I couldn't even get up and go back to the bathroom, and I was just grabbing my stomach, and all of a sudden, this brown stream shot the bag clear across the room. And that German nurse was right there screaming at me. And I didn't blame her. It was a mess, and everybody was screaming at me. But I got to get out of there and get cleaned up. And I'm sure I had to come back in there when it was over, but I don't remember any of that. So, anyway, a few days later, they took me down, or not a few hours later, took me down to surgery. And they closed me back up. Put my intestines back together. So they didn't even the surgeon didn't even let me wake up. He slapped my face and he said, "Hey, I got to tell you," he said, "you have adhesions, which it's scar tissue that grows like in fingers or something." He said they were all through your abdomen. He said it took us forever to get these things out. And he told me how much longer, but I don't honestly remember. It just took longer. And he said, "No, by the way, you also have worms." So, but he said, "Don't worry, everybody that has a pet and keeps it in their house, they've got worms." So, just a word for you folks. But anyway, they didn't let me eat anything but beef bouillon or chicken bouillon or lime jello or lemon jello for 3 weeks till I healed up. And you've heard about how your stomach shrinks. And you get so sick of that bouillon and jello, you don't even want that. So finally, the doctor came around at 11 o'clock, and he said, "Okay, you can have lunch." I said, "Well, if I have lunch, can I have it right now?" He said, "Sure." So I became friends with a couple guys there. I said, "Come on, we're going down to the cafeteria." Went down there, and they had the hot dogs rotating around under the heat lamp and some French fries. And I said, 3 hot dogs and 2 fries. And I ate about 2 bites of hot dog and about 1 French fry, and I couldn't get another thing in my stomach. Just interesting how your stomach will shrink up. But so anyway, got out of the Army, went back home, met Barbara, yes. By the way, she said, "I hope I can stay awake through your thing." So I'll tell you, if we get to the important parts, I'll make sure she's awake. So we got married, moved to Oregon, and in a few months, I honestly don't know, Barb, how, year maybe, I don't know, before I started having trouble. I don't exactly know what happened on the inside. We've always assumed, and doctors said those adhesions had grown back and clamped off my intestines. And my stomach would swell up, I'd have pain, and it wasn't throbbing pain, it was just solid, steady pain that just got worse because there was more of a backlog. You couldn't pass gas, you couldn't burp, it just got bigger and bigger and more painful. So she hauled me to the hospital, and they'd shoot me full of muscle relaxers and give me some pills, and that went on for a few years. Every 2 or 3 months, I'd be back in there. And she got sick of driving me in, so I'd call John Purdue, and he would take me in. The problem was they'd shoot me full of muscle relaxers, and I'd fall asleep. Whoever took me in there would have to just hang around there for a couple hours to take me home. So John took me a few times, and John Bowers took me one time. And we go to the Eugene Hospital and Clinic, is where I went. And there used to be a library there on 13th Street. I don't think it's there anymore. Maybe there's no libraries anywhere anymore. But we got in front of that, and here I am. I got my pants unbuckled, my zipper down, my stomach extended, and I said, John, I got to throw up. So he parked right in front of that hospital, and I got out between the curb and the sidewalk, big glass windows, all the people in there looking out. And so I was out there throwing up in the flowers. And I got back in, and I thought John might say something. He was just looking straight ahead. He didn't want to see any of it, and he didn't want to talk about it. So this went on and on. And then we met Carl and Deanna Pitcher, Gordon's sister and brother-in-law. And they took us to Willamette Christian Center to I don't know if it's a revival, but it was 4 or 5 nights. And we went in there, the Happy Hunters. And we were just young, and Carl and Deanna were mentoring us, now that I look back. And they had a thing up there called People Were Getting Slain in the Spirit. And it looked exciting. And I decided, Barb stayed in the chair. You went up with me? Oh, anyway, I do not remember that because of what I do remember. I got up there, and I was all excited about it, and I was in line to go up. And there's this old guy, not as old as I am now, but he was old, that wouldn't go down. And all of a sudden, I panicked. I thought, oh, I thought this was automatic. What if I don't go down? So then I thought, well, I don't want to stand there like he is. So as soon as they even came close to me, I just fell over backwards. Now, I'm not knocking anybody that did it correctly. I'm just telling you, I did not. And I got back up to sit down, and Barb said, are you okay? I said, no. She said, what's the matter? And I said, I'll tell you later. And I told her later. I said, I just lied to everybody in this place. I didn't have enough guts to stand there and find out what was going to happen. I just didn't want to make a scene, so I just went down. So that was one thing that happened at the Hunters. Well, a couple nights later, they were ending it all, and they said, okay, everybody stand up, and every spouse lay hands on your spouse. Where, if there's a problem, where it hurts, or what the problem is. So she put her hand on my stomach and prayed, and it did not hurt when she started, and it did not hurt when she ended. So wasn't any big deal. Didn't hurt before she started. It didn't hurt it, So we left and we went home. 2 nights later, I got it. And I thought, I do not want to tell her, after all this that we've gone through, that now I have it again. And I thought, I'm going to get the dog, and we'll go over in the orchard, and I'll run the dog, and maybe it'll go away. So I was over there for a little bit, and I thought, this is getting worse and worse, and it's cold and it's raining, and if I can't get back, I might die out here, just because I don't want to tell her that I got another attack. So I went back, and she was on the phone with Carl Pitcher. And I said, we got to go to the hospital. I got an attack. And she said, Carl, I got to hang up. Jim's having another attack. We got to go to the hospital. I could hear his voice over the phone. Well, did you pray for him? And she said, no, but we will. So she said, Jim, Carl wants us to pray. I said, fine, but make it fast. Now this is the start of how you're learning how much faith I had. I said, fine, but make it fast. We got to get to the hospital. So every big production needs a prop, and this is my prop. I sat on the couch. She put her hand on my knee and said, Dear God, and I have no idea what else she said, because it didn't hurt. Now, I'm almost ashamed to tell you this. I didn't listen to what she had to say because I was squirming around trying to get it back, because the last thing I wanted to say was, Barb, I'm healed, and get up, and 2 minutes later, I'm doubled over in pain. Well, it didn't come back. It was gone. I still don't understand exactly. I mean, I didn't have gurgling and, you felt better. It was just gone. Now, I would love to say that's the end of the story. But 2.5 years later, I got it again. And she prayed for me, did the whole thing, had to go to the hospital. Same doctor I've had many times. He said, so did you move? Why have you not been here for 2.5 years? Did you go to another hospital? So I told him the whole story. And he said, well, if God's not going to do it, I'm not sure I can, but we'll give you the same treatment. And he did. And it went away. But I've never had it again since then. Now, you might say, well, I'd have liked it better if he'd have left that part out. Well, guess what? I'd have liked it better if I'd been able to leave it out too. But I'm not going to lie to you. God is a very big God. Jesus is a big boy. He wrote the story, not me. I don't have to add things that I don't think he did to make it sound better. I don't have to delete things that he did do because I think it would be better if he hadn't. He wrote the story. I didn't. I've had surgery since then, and I warned them I may be full of adhesions. And they said, nope, none. So, you know what? I'm just telling you the story the way it happened. And as far as I know, I gave you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So I believe I still pray for people. We've had some mixed results. I've never seen another thing happen like I just told you about. But I've had people that I was sure they were going to die, that they've lived, and I don't know. I mean, I've said many times a miracle isn't a miracle until it happens to you. And I do know this about faith. I think everybody in here has enough faith to go again, even though you've gone and prayed and Jesus didn't heal them or didn't heal them that time, but you still have the faith that he certainly can when he wants to, and we don't know why or what the reason is, why sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't. I went through a time where I've done it recently to someone that had adhesions. I said, okay, Barb, you need to pray for them just like you did before. And I've tried, anyway. I thought I did say that, but anyway. All right. Pretty close to time, huh, Dan? I've told the story. If I added to it, I wouldn't be telling nothing but the truth.
Place to hide this weary soul, this bag of bones. And I try with all my might, but I just can't win the fight. I'm slowly drifting, a vagabond. And just when I ran out of road, I met a man but to believe my doubts are burning.